Hey everybody, in this video we're going to be talking about how to play the Manifest Jungle card game. It's the card game that works a lot like a board game, as you're going to see in just a few minutes, based on the Manifest Jungle book, which if you haven't read it, please check it out. You can learn more about any of this at manifestjungle.com, but right now let's jump into how to play. So when you get your game, it's going to come in this little box here. You'll see on the side of the box there's a QR code that you can scan that's going to take you to the official rules. It'll also take you to manifestjungle.com, which has everything you need to know about the game, including those rules. See the logo, everything you need about the game. Then we're going to open it up. Inside, you are going to see 2 dice. That's one for each of the 2 players. Then you're going to find 1 stack of cards, which is essentially just 2 decks, kind of merged together there. You can break those apart. You'll see they're divided by color, red and purple. The one on the red is the Followers of Signs from the book. The one on the left is the Warriors of Justice. That's the purple cards. Now, in order to play this, you have to understand there's several different card types. And you're going to notice that they've got different symbols up in the upper left corner that indicate the card type. They also match up with these different colors. So you've got orange, those are the generals. Each player is going to have 1 general just by default. And you've got some descriptions there of what the general can do, their special abilities. Then you're going to have action cards, which are always going to have these yellow, and you basically just have to read the description to find out what it does. You're also going to have what are called field cards, which are going to have this lighter green color, and these are just cards that get played as like troops. And then you've also got mount cards, which can basically be put together with a field card, just like this. You set it down on the map, and when you do that, they can move 2 spaces instead of 1 space per turn. You also are going to have these portal cards. Portal card is very important because that's how you win the game. You need to land on those. And then you're also going to find this quick reference rule card. This is something each player can just kind of keep out there so they know how the game plays. Okay, next we're going to set up. First, you're going to pull your general cards out of your deck, set those aside. We're also going to take your portal card and your rule reference card, and you're going to set those aside. Each player is going to do this. Once you have done that, each player is going to deal themselves a pile of 5 cards. Then you're going to deal yourself another pile of 5 cards. Now you're going to set both of those piles aside and just forget about them for a second. Next, you're going to take that portal card that you set aside earlier and you're going to hand it to the other player. Now set that aside for a second. Now, with the remaining cards that you have, all the rest of the cards that are in your deck, you're going to start building a map. Each of those cards is going to be called a space. What you're going to do is imagine there's an invisible line running horizontally between you and the other player, and you're just going to start making a grid. You can kind of lay out cards in any fashion you want to. Just make sure that there's at least 2 points of connection between your map and the other player's map, and also make sure that they're all lined up with respect to each other. Next, you're going to take that portal card that you received from the other player earlier and set it on top of any space on your side of the map. Next, you're going to take your general and you're going to place it on any space on your side of the map as far back as is possible. So it has to be the furthest row towards you. Next, grab one of those 2 sets of 5 that you pulled out earlier. That is going to be your hand. You're going to take a look at the cards that are in there, and you're going to pull out any of the field cards that you see, and you can do the same thing you did with the general. You can place them anywhere on the furthest row back, as long as they're not overlapping with any other cards. Then both players are going to roll dice to see who goes first. So when it's your turn, the very first thing that you're going to do is, if you have any reserve cards, that's that other pile of 5 that are still left in there, you get to draw 1. Then you get to place any field cards that you want to, that you might have in your hand, onto the map, again, furthest row back. Next, we're going to move into movement. When you're moving, each of the cards that you have, unless they have some special ability, can move 1 space either horizontally or vertically. They cannot overlap with another card, again, unless there's some special ability like a mount. Next, you're going to look through your hand and see if you have any action cards that you want to play. If you do, you can play them right then. If not, you don't have to. The next phase of your turn is combat, but if you don't have any cards next to each other that are within combat range, we can skip that part and it'll go to the next player. Next player is going to go through the same sequence, draw a reserve card, place any field cards, do movement, and then you go into action cards. So you see in this scenario, the player on the left is using an action card. That action card basically just got rid of this particular card that she played it on. You will also notice that some of the action cards are triggered by things that the other player does. In those scenarios, you might be able to play an action card here to counter something, but it has to specifically describe it in the card. Next, let's talk about combat. Now, when you have two cards that are either vertically or horizontally next to each other, you can engage in combat. Both sides are going to roll dice. Then you're going to match up your dice next to your card. Add the dice roll to the card's power, which you see in the upper right corner there. So in this case, the person on the right got a 6, 5 plus 1. The person on the left got a 4, 3 plus 1. Then you're going to figure out who got the higher roll. The lower roll, that card is going to get discarded. So here we have a very similar example. This time we've got 5 plus 4, that's a 9. And then we've got 4 plus 2, that's a 6. So since 9 is greater than 6, the card with the 6 total is going to be discarded. And anytime there's a tie, both cards are going to be discarded. The first player to land any field card on their portal and roll a 4 or higher during a subsequent turn instead of movement wins the game. So that's pretty much all you need to know to play the basic game. When you are going through, just remember that if you run into something like you're reading a card, you don't quite know what it does, or you have a question about a situation, just use your best judgment and be consistent as you're playing. If all else fails, look on the website at manifestjungle.com. If you have a question there and you don't see the question answered already, submit something through the contact form and ask. And then I will post up any questions that I see about how to play the card game. I'll post answers as well, how the official rules are dealing with those questions. But in the meantime, just use your best judgment and be consistent with it. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed the game and have fun playing.